The third question to consider in discerning vocation is, does anybody need you to do it? What does the community of people in which you live really need from your talents? That is to say, is the role you're considering a way of self-gift, a way of serving others? It may very well be that I am an extraordinarily accomplished and successful shepherd. Sheep simply go mad for me. I walk into a room and sheep curl up and purr. But the fact is that the community in which I live, in New York, doesn't really have much need for a shepherd. If that's so, even though it may be a source of happiness and joy to me, even though it may be something I'm good at, it's not my vocation. One needs to respond to the needs of the community in which one finds oneself. I am absolutely convinced, indeed, there are a few things about which I am more convinced, than that the central issue in being a human being, and therefore in being a Christian, is what the New Testament calls agape, a very particular form of love, a love which is self-gift, a way of giving oneself away to the other. That is the center of the Christian life, and I am convinced the center of being a human being. And therefore, it's crucial as we make decisions about what we're going to do with our lives, that we ask, how can I best give myself to the people around me? But, just as in the case of my second question, the people who answer this are not the ones making the decision, it's the people whom we are serving. That we need to hear from the people around us what they really need. What is it that they want us to do? Once we know that this is a source of joy, once we know this is something I've got talents and abilities to perform, and I think that those talents and abilities will be stretched and expanded for the rest of my life in doing this work, is it something that people around us really need us to do? Does the community call us to this work? That's absolutely central in our consideration. All too often, we raise questions about vocational discernment as if everything depends on what I want and what I love, when in fact, at least as important, perhaps more important in making a good vocational decision, is what do the people around me need? What is it that the community requires that I am able to supply? We need to be able to listen to others about their needs. St. Thomas Aquinas says that the crown and summit of the whole of the ethical life is what he calls caritas, charity, what the New Testament describes as agape, what I've just called self-gift. And when Thomas says that it's the crown and summit of the whole of the ethical life, he means that all the other virtues play into caritas, play into self-gift. I want to suggest two qualities that are absolutely necessary, two virtues that are crucial to being able to give oneself away in a meaningful and important way to others. And those two virtues are wisdom and courage. Wisdom is much more than simply knowledge. It's not only having information or knowing certain techniques. It is, I suggest to you, preeminently knowing that the other is other. What I mean is this. I sometimes suspect, and I say this as I look at myself and not just look at the people around me, that many of us live our lives as if we were the stars of a motion picture in which we have the lead role. Himes, the movie. Indeed, it often strikes me as I see students on campuses walking about with Walkmen that now many of us even have our own private soundtracks for our movies. So that whenever I walk into a room, somewhere at the back, the Star Wars theme is playing. The hero has arrived. Everyone else may have a role in my film. Some of them have even fairly large supporting parts, but they're clearly supporting parts. The film is about me, and everyone else plays a role in my life. One of the most difficult things to do is to arrive at the wisdom which perceives other people as other people, not simply as role players in my world. I'm sure you've heard people say things like, I can read her like a book. I know exactly what he thinks. I know just how she feels. And I am always tempted to say, if you know her or him like a book, then you don't know them at all. Because you see, they're not a book. They're a human being. The fact is that we need to perceive others as others, not to project on them what we would like if we were in their shoes, because we're not in their shoes. The second virtue, which is crucial to agape, is courage. Courage enables us to risk giving ourselves to people who may not always appreciate the gift. I don't think there is anything more devastating in human experience than being an unrequited lover, than being someone who genuinely extends himself or herself for others and is not appreciated. We have to be willing to hear what others need and to give ourselves a response even when our attempt to respond may not be appreciated. Wisdom and courage, absolutely necessary for leading a genuinely agapic life. So, when I ask the question, do people need your gift? What I'm really asking is, have you discerned what the people around you really most deeply require? And have you got the courage to respond to that need? It may very well be that you have discovered your joy. It may very well be that you know what your abilities are. Now you need to discover what the people around you really most desire, hope for, and require. One last point which concerns all three questions. What is our deepest and most fundamental vocation? Because you see, we all have multiple vocations. For example, I'm a priest and an academic. I'm a teacher and a writer. I'm also a friend and a son and a brother and an uncle. I'm a citizen. I fill many roles in the course of my life, private and public, professional and personal. But there is one vocation which embraces all our other vocations, to be a human being, by which I mean that we are called to be as intelligent, as responsible, as free, as courageous, as imaginative, as loving as we can possibly be. All of my other vocations, all of the many ways in which I live my life, must contribute to that one all-embracing demand, that one constant vocation, to be fully, totally, absolutely as human as I can possibly be. And one way into that is to ask the questions, what gives you joy? What are you really good at? And what do the people around you really need?